Hi, I'm Jesse Sloan, National Director of the National Advisory Center for Short-Term Care Information, also the head of the Long-Term Care Insurance Association and the Medicare Supplement Insurance Association. I want to thank you as an agent or broker for taking the time to watch this presentation, An Agent's Guide to Selling Short-Term Care Insurance. Let's get right into it. As an agent or broker, why should you even think about selling short-term care insurance? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The two major ones are because it can help you get new clients, it can help benefit your clients, and the second reason is obviously you can earn an income from doing that. So we're going to go into this presentation and talk about success. Not sort of hyperbole the way most presentations go. If you watch this, I'm going to get very specific about the markets and the opportunities and how you can be successful getting right out of the block selling short-term care insurance. So that's the reason to watch. A commercial right up front. The National Advisory Center for Short-Term Care Information is a national organization. We provide exclusive resources and personnel support for agents who are appointed through the organization. This video is free to watch for anybody. I'm glad to provide this as a service. If you're appointed to sell short-term care through a different GA or through different IMO structure, terrific. Urge them to support you and get you the kind of sales training, the knowledge, the marketing materials that you need. If you're not appointed to sell short-term care insurance from leading carriers, call us, because one of the things that we will do exceedingly well is teach you not just about the products, but about the sweet spots. We have agents across the country who are highly successful selling short-term care insurance. We base our training on what's working for them, and we share that and they share that with other agents. I'm a marketing guy and a public relations guy. I love doing great marketing material that resonates, so we do a whole series of consumer advisories that are available exclusively to the agents who are appointed with us, as well as regular online training, sales videos, and webinars that you can watch, all focused on short-term care insurance and being successful. We'll get you appointed with all of the leading companies, whether it's Aetna, Standard Life, Kemper, GTL, Medico. We are leading support producers for all of those companies. So as I say, you can be appointed through us with one, with multiples. We want you to be successful, and obviously when you're successful, we participate in your success. So thank you. Now, before I get into the heart of the matter, I want to share with you that short-term care insurance is not currently available in all states. We're working slowly to make that happen, and I hope one day that we will see this industry continue to grow and blossom and be available, but I've got the listing up here of states where the product is typically not currently available, but you can always check with us because this video is going to be posted online, so things change regularly. If you contact the Advisory Center, we're happy to share with you what states have products available, what companies might be available in your market, etc. Let's get into the who, why, and what of selling short-term care insurance, because that's really why you are watching this presentation. Let's start with the what. What is this thing called that I'm referring to as short-term care insurance? Well, if you talk to the insurance commissioners, the NAIC, literally what they call this product in this category is recovery care. You'll see that on a lot of the company brochures. You'll see that term recovery care. But the consumer has no concept of what recovery care is, so they will never talk to you, or this term just will not resonate with you. We are branding this form of coverage as short-term care insurance. There are a lot of reasons to do this. One, long-term care insurance has a high degree of recognition with consumers, has some, clearly some pros and some cons that they associate with it, but it's a recognizable term. So consumers will grasp what short-term care insurance means, and that's really important because you want consumers to be talking to you. Why short-term care insurance? There are a couple of key things that you need to understand. Short-term care insurance fills important gaps that are missing in insurance protection or in financial protection for seniors. It generally fills gaps in Medicare, Medicare Part D, prescription drug programs, and it's an alternative for long-term care. And I'm going to get into those in far more specifics as this presentation continues. But in essence, you need to understand that short-term care insurance fills gaps for seniors. Short-term care insurance is also a very viable planning option for consumers looking to do some long-term care planning. And products, there's no uniform description or definition for short-term care insurance. So the products are sort of all over the board, but there are products that look and feel very much like traditional long-term care insurance. They're going to provide coverage for skilled nursing care, assisted living, home care, home health care, which is really what many consumers want. In general, these products, and I use in general, again, because I want you to understand there are no clear black and white definitions for this category, certainly not as yet. The NAIC and others are starting to focus and look at it, and there may be one day, but right now companies have quite a bit of latitude in terms of how they offer these products and their definitions and their coverages. But generally, the long-term care light products, as I tend to call them, are going to provide your clients with benefits of up to 360 days, so just under 1 year of coverage. And as I said, the regulatory rules that traditionally cover long-term care insurance, if you're very familiar with that, if you're an LTC producer, those don't apply to short-term care insurance. And before you roll your eyes and say, well, that's that, I'm going to get to some real important benefits, how this can benefit your customers and real consumers, because this is a form of protection that does provide significant benefits. So let's take a quick look and explanation of the marketplace as it exists today. I'm recording this April 2017. So the overall marketplace for short-term care insurance is still relatively small. It still is a fairly new, by comparison to other forms of insurance, a relatively new industry. The annual premium is somewhere between 75 and 100 million. There are relatively few carriers in the business. Most are small, with relatively low sales. Some are really committed, even though their sales are low. They're looking to grow. They're looking to. They are introducing new products, and more importantly, I will tell you that there are other insurance companies that are on the sidelines, judging and watching this business. I am recording this video on the last day of the National Medicare Supplement and Short-Term Care Insurance Industry Summit in Dallas, Texas, and we had rooms filled with people from departments of insurance, from insurance companies, others, all talking about how to grow the short-term care insurance industry. So good things are going to happen. I really believe that. That's why I'm involved. Industry sales are growing, and that is important for you to know as a producer. As I said, starting off a smaller base of sales and policy premiums, it's easy to show growth, but there are many industries where there is no growth or where sales are actually declining. In 2016, sales of short-term care insurance grew 16 2/3% over the prior year, and premium, compared to 2015, grew by over 13%. That is a good sign, and going into 2017, the agents that we are working with are reporting that their sales continue to grow as they become more familiar with these products and bring it out to more customers. So that's a good thing. Who buys short-term care insurance? Well, if you remember, I started off saying this is a product that fills gaps for seniors, and that's who buys this product. 93% of the people who buy short-term care insurance are age 61 or older. For the past several years, the National Advisory Center has conducted industry studies. That's one of the things that we do to help grow this industry and to support the industry and also the producers who work with us. We survey the companies to measure their sales, the ages of their buyers, what they're buying, etc. And so as you can see, most, if not all, are in their 60s, 70s, or older. More women than men buy short-term care insurance, and I think there are a couple of reasons for that. I think this is a very affordable product. It's a product that is really well suited for the large number of older single women, or what I like to call women on their own because they're single, never married, divorced, or widowed. But in general, almost 60%, 6 out of 10 people who buy short-term care insurance are women. I called this policy, or many of the policies, long-term care light. The policy benefits what people are buying very much mirrors what people select when they're selecting long-term care insurance. So when you look at a new policy benefit, again, this was 2016 data, released in 2017, the vast majority of buyers are buying anywhere from 181 days to 360, 365, so between half a year and a year's worth of coverage. And before you say, well, everything I've heard about long-term care says that's not going to be enough, I'm going to show you a piece of statistical information that will put your mind at ease, because some coverage is always better than none, and a year's worth of coverage is going to be more than adequate for far more people than you suspect. So keep watching. In terms of new policy benefit amount, again, these policies tend to look like traditional long-term care insurance in general, the amounts that people select. It's sort of across the board. It's what I call, if you give people an option on a bell curve, the vast majority will pick somewhere in the middle, and then others will pick on either end, and this is no different. The important point that I want to stop and emphasize is the right word with you, is that while short-term care insurance is still a relatively new business, this industry is already paying claims, and that's an important piece of information for you to know and for you ultimately to convey to your prospects and your clients, because they would be right in raising a raised eyebrow and saying, well, is this really legit? I haven't heard an awful lot about this. Tell me more. But do they really pay? The answer is, as you can see, in 2016 versus 2015, claims were up 23.25%, and the dollars paid out by the insurers were up nearly 6%, and it's been growing every year. So why do consumers need to consider short-term care insurance protection? Let's talk about this really most important part, why, because this is the reason that if you get it and you understand why, you'll be able to communicate this to your clients and prospects, and you'll be able to sell this coverage. Why? Americans love Medicare. At the time that I'm filming this, I'm 64 and a little bit over a half, almost a half now. And so in a few months, with great anticipation and positive enthusiasm, I will become one of the millions, the tens of millions of Americans who is qualified for Medicare and is on Medicare. And whatever anybody says about government programs, we all know that people on Medicare love being on Medicare. They really do. But the truth is that they're missing pieces in Medicare coverage. The government can't be all, do all, pay for all for everybody, and so they're missing pieces in the Medicare puzzle. And short-term care insurance can offer some solutions to fill those missing pieces. A term that you may never have heard about, but that you need to understand very clearly, is the term observation status. I won't go into a great deal of full explanation. This slide has it. You can take time to pause and to read it. You can read more online. But basically, Medicare is looking at hospitals and saying, hey, you need to control costs because we have only limited dollars. We don't want the Medicare Trust Fund to go broke faster than anticipated. So you need to control dollars. And one of the ways that you need to do that is, since we pay for people that are hospitals, is to avoid having people readmitted to hospitals. So all of this is a fancy way of bookkeeping that hospitals have two ways of indicating how the patient is present. That's the easiest way to describe it. They can be inpatient or they can be under observation status. To the patient, everything looks and feels exactly the same. The patient is in the bed, the patient's getting the same care, seeing the same doctors, getting all the same treatments. Only the hospital has checked a different box. That's very critical for how they deal with Medicare and ultimately get their reimbursement and their credits. And this is why it's so critical, and this is why those two words cost Medicare patients thousands of dollars. Because if you are coded as being under observation status, what gets reimbursed is different. And there's one very big significant difference that occurs when you leave the hospital if you go into a skilled nursing care facility, which happens an awful lot because hospitals are incented to get you out of the hospital in a period of time and let you get your recovery care somewhere else, like in a skilled nursing home, etc. And if you are under observation status, you have not met the critical criteria to have Medicare cover that. What I want to do, when you look and say, well, how am I going to learn more about this? I urge you to watch a video. We have a link to it from the National Advisory Center's website. So if you go to shorttermcareinsurance.org/NBC-GAP, you will see on the NBC Nightly News, you will see their segment that will talk about the two words that cost Medicare patients thousands. I urge you to watch it, and then ultimately I urge you to tell others about it. This is so important because the last statistic that anybody gathered on this was AARP in 2013. There were 2 million Americans hospitalized. They were Medicare beneficiaries. They were coded as observation status. So this doesn't happen just to 1 or 2 people around the country. This happens to millions. And while Congress looks and says, oh, we're going to address it, they have not yet. They have not put Band-Aids or changed this program. And in fact, in 2016, the Medicare and You booklet, for the first time, raised the issue and explained to Medicare beneficiaries what observation status was. And if you have a 2016 booklet still in your possession, I suggest you get it, open it up to page 40, and you will see exactly the screenshot that we're showing you here. You'll see the difference, the definition of it, and you'll see that it's highlighted with an important arrow. 2016. By the way, in 2017, the text and the information is there, but they took off that important arrow. And that's because as a patient, you can contest with the hospital before you leave what status you're under, and but that ultimately could cost Medicare some more. So short-term care insurance can help cover some of those observation status gaps. It can cover you for skilled care when you go into a nursing home, and many people do. Let's say you have hip surgery. You're in the hospital for 3 days, then you go into a nursing home for 20 days, thinking that Medicare is going to cover it. Medicare doesn't. A short-term care insurance policy can fill those gaps quite adequately. And in fact, I like to do my presentations, as I said, with some marketing tips. Whether you work with us or whether you work with others, you should be talking to your clients who are on Medicare and making sure that they are aware of exactly what observation status means, so that if, indeed, they or a loved one go into a hospital, they are educated in advance and are asking the institution, How are we being coded for this stay? And if they're being told, oh, well, you're under observation status, even though you're checked in overnight and the hospital, the doctors are examining you, they need to know that they need to fight hard to get that changed, or they're going to be facing gaps. And so you should be telling them, too, if they're new prospects that you're talking to open it up. The 2017 Medicare and You Handbook, again, defines it. Gap number 2, prescription drugs. I don't have to tell you how many millions of Americans are taking prescription drugs. Lots of them. And these drugs are costly. And while many of them are part of plans and they get reimbursed, many of them do not get fully reimbursed. They pay out of pocket, and often they pay hundreds of dollars a year for their prescription drugs. This is very common. And common drugs that we kind of look at today. We talk to dozens of consumers a week, and they say, oh, yes, I'm 74, and well, how's your health? Oh, my health is great. They view their health as great, but it's really their health is controlled great because of all these prescription drugs that are costing them hundreds of dollars a year. Well, there are today short-term care insurance policies that provide a very significant prescription drug benefit, a very liberal prescription drug benefit, so that basically if you have a client whose prescription drugs cost $300 or more a year, they might buy one of these policies and they could get reimbursed $250 to $300, which in some cases, on the slide that I'm showing you here, if you're in North Carolina, the premium for someone who's between 65 and 70 on one of these products is $170 a year currently. In some other states, it's a little bit more, but their drug benefit alone is $250 a year. So I'm like, this is a no-brainer. We have agents in North Carolina who don't believe this, we get appointed, they buy it on themselves because they're taking prescription drugs, or they sell it to their parents who are taking prescription drugs. They submit the claim and they get reimbursed. And what's best with this company, you can actually buy 2 policies so you can get reimbursed twice. There's some really, and that's not counting the other benefits that are within this particular policy's outlines of coverage. So your short-term care marketing idea is to ask every senior that you're meeting with or talking to, if they take prescription drugs, is the retail cost $300 or more? Not even necessarily what they paid, but just the retail cost of their drugs. Because if so, you should be talking to them about a short-term care policy that could cover the cost of these drugs, provide them with some other benefits, coverage for therapies that are currently often needed by seniors, and in even a home health care aid benefit as well. I said a second ago, therapies. Medicare does a great job of providing coverage for many therapies that people need. And when I decide, the way I define therapies is it could be physical therapy, it could be speech therapy. These are common needs, especially among seniors. Because think of this. How many seniors do you know that fall, they break a hip, they break an arm, they have a stroke, they have a heart attack? Well, when you recover from these, and today you do, you're going to typically need some physical therapy, maybe some speech therapy, et cetera. It's very, very common. Medicare generally will reimburse for these therapies at a therapy center. So, because that's a way of managing the quality of care and the cost of care and ensuring that really, that people are getting what they need. And that's great, except for the following. First, Not everybody can get to a center to get the therapy that they need. Think of if you're a 70-year-old single woman who falls, breaks her hip, goes into the hospital, has it pinned, goes into a rehab center for 20 days of skilled care and then is out because Medicare no longer, and she was an inpatient status, so Medicare doesn't pay beyond fully for the 20 days, and typically you don't need to stay there. And now she's home and she needs some therapy. Well, maybe she can't get into the car to drive. Who's going to get her there? She doesn't have a spouse. She doesn't have anything. So Medicare won't necessarily cover therapy at home. Some short-term care policies will. Therapy at home can be expensive. These policies will reimburse for that. Secondly, you get your therapy 3 days a week at the center. That's terrific. But you want to recover faster. Maybe you want 2 more days of care at home. That wouldn't be covered. Policy like this allows you to have that. Typically, that's very helpful for therapies like speech therapy, where someone wants to accelerate the recovery process. Short-term care policies have benefits like this that seniors will relate to and understand and will find attractive. So I basically said, one, the benefit of a short-term care policy is the ability to get treatments at home and the ability to maybe get more treatments than Medicare would provide, so your recovery is accelerated. I'm not sure what, I know I was showing you this slide because we covered the outpatient and the inpatient and the observation status, and I said this is really important for those individuals who ultimately might need care that typically we would define as long-term care. So Medicare does limit, the third limit that Medicare has, the third gap is obviously long-term care. If you've been selling long-term care insurance, I guarantee you're familiar with it. You tell clients all the time, Medicare doesn't pay. Medicare does pay for some long-term care. Some of that's now qualified basically on how you're defined, but it certainly doesn't pay for all, okay? It has limits. The problem is, traditional long-term care insurance has a real problem. I'm not telling you, if you're watching this, anything that you probably don't know about. In 2001, agents sold 754,000 individual long-term care insurance policies in a single year, 2001. 15 years later, only 91,000 policies have been sold. There's nothing wrong with long-term care insurance, but there are problems, and that's why the sales are down. Short-term care insurance is an ideal solution when cost, health, or age is an issue for a consumer. Those are the issues that have been impacting long-term care insurance, and one more. So I'm going to talk about those as well. But cost is always an issue. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. If the reason we're making this video available for free is because if I charged you $29 to watch it, fewer of you would spend the time watching it. Cost is always an issue, no matter how much the value is. I'm hoping you get value out of watching this, but at some time, for many, always, let's just say, free is better than cost. And so cost is always an issue. It's certainly an issue for America's seniors, where a large percentage, or a percentage of people who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s just don't have the retirement savings or income that they need to purchase optional products like long-term care insurance. The statistic that 1 in 3 Americans has $0 saved for retirement. If they have $0 saved for retirement, they're never going to buy traditional long-term care insurance, no matter how valid a case you can make for how necessary protection like that is. And women. Women are even less prepared than men, certainly older women. And I will keep using the term women on their own, which I mean to define as women who are single, never married, divorced, widowed. There are tens of millions of women who are on their own. they have less saved for retirement, they have lower Social Security benefits, they have lower pensions, if pensions at all. They need to do long-term care planning more than anybody, but they don't have the resources. So cost is always an issue. Health today in traditional long-term care insurance issue is a greater issue than it's ever been. It's always been an issue. The insurance company scrutinized applicants before they would accept them. Today, with fewer insurers in the long-term care marketplace, they are scrutinizing applicants 10 times more. So the numbers that I'm showing you here from the American Association for Long-Term Care Insurance, you look and you say a quarter of all the individuals who took the time to complete and submit a traditional long-term care insurance application were declined. This was older statistics from basically 2013. If we were to update the statistics now, I guarantee you the percentage would be anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 points higher. The insurance companies, because there are fewer of them, they're able to scrutinize applicants more strenuously. If you sell long-term care insurance, you know that health is a greater issue. Age has always been an issue for traditional long-term care insurance. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. When does somebody call to look into long-term care insurance? The day mom or dad is just finished being admitted into the nursing home, and they found out exactly how much it's costing, and mom's 83, and they call up and go, hey, mom needs a long-term care insurance policy. Our doctor just told us that. And you go, oh, I'm really sorry. Age is always an issue. People wait to plan far too long. And the fourth issue, which really didn't exist a few years ago but does now, is negative news. Every consumer, the first thing they're doing today, many of them, when they're researching a subject, is they Google it and they go online and they find articles that look and say, long-term care insurance, this company is being liquidated. That doesn't spell good news. This industry is raising rates. We're showing one where industry rates go up 9%, but there's so many Google headlines that talk about an insurance company raising their rates 80%. There's just a plethora of negative news that has dampened any consumer interest in traditional long-term care insurance. So those are all the realities. That's why long-term care insurance policy sales last year totaled under $100,000 for the first time in several decades, and they keep going down. But short-term care insurance is a viable long-term care planning option. As I said, when health, cost, or age, and even bad news is an issue. And let's spend a couple of minutes explaining why and how these work. We call it long-term care. I'm going to put a pause there. But most long-term care is really not that long. When you get down to analyzing the length of claims, the length of period of time that individuals who have long-term care insurance are on claim, many of them are on claim for 1 year or less. In fact, 41%, so that's nearly half of all the individuals who go on claim. Remember, not everybody goes on claim, but nearly half of the individuals who go on claim, their claim lasts less than a year. Why? They had a short recoverable illness. They had a terminal illness. They needed care, but they died within the first year. Or they just used a certain part of their benefits, their caregiving benefits. They didn't necessarily need nursing home. So this is why short-term care, when I talk to long-term care producers who traditionally have been talking about 3 years of coverage, 5 years of coverage, lifetime, oh my God, you could be Superman Christopher Reeves, who, by the way, didn't need care for decades and decades. I have to break through the bubble and say to you, hold on, look at the real data. 41% of long-term care insurance claims are over within a year. So you can't argue with me that no coverage is better than a little coverage. It's not. Some coverage is always better than no coverage. I'm going to repeat that. Some coverage is always better for your client than no coverage. Short-term care insurance may provide a benefit of 360 days. 1, that could be enough for many, many people. 2, some coverage is always going to be better than none. I'm going to get off my soapbox on that one. Second thing of why I passionately believe short-term care is a very positive, viable option. Everybody understands that long-term care insurance, in order to qualify for benefits, you must meet criteria. Every agent, every article, and every newspaper and magazine focuses on the elimination period, the deductible, typically 90 days. And everybody looks and says, well, you have to first meet the deductible of 90 days, and then your benefits kick in. They never mention that traditional tax-qualified long-term care insurance requires you to jump over or meet 2 hurdles. Certainly the deductible period, but secondly, you have to be, not diagnosed, you have to be certified as going to be dependent, ADL dependent for care for 90 days or longer. You have to be certified for that. So you look and say, well, how hard is that going to be? Harder than you think. Today, doctors will tell you, you break a hip, and I can't tell you how many agents will use the story. Well, we all know a senior, probably you know how common broken hips are. You fall, you break a hip, you go into the hospital, then you're going to need some long-term care. Yes, that's true. You're going to need some long-term care, but the doctor will not certify that that period of care is going to be 90 days or longer, because they know that you will be back up walking and functioning faster than 90 days. So you will never meet that second hurdle. Short-term care insurance only requires the 1 hurdle that's met, meaning that you, in this case, meet the qualifications, the ADL qualifications. That is so important. Again, especially, I know I'm harping on it as a male. If you're a female watching this, I know you will get it, especially if you're a woman on your own, a female agent on your own. This is so important for an individual woman on her own. Just consider the following. I have a partner. If I break my hip and go into the hospital, get recovery care, and now I come home, she's going to be there to help take care of me. That's the truth. We might ultimately, if it's really bad, we might have to bring in additional help, but I have a built-in caregiver. She has a built-in caregiver, not a very good one, me, but still I'm going to do my best. I can boil water and make some tea and make a sandwich or bring in a Subway. But so when you have a couple, you have built-in caregivers. If you're a single woman on her own, you break that hip, you go into the hospital, you go into the recovery center for 20 days of care, and now you are home. You do not have a built-in caregiver. That having to go over 2 hurdles, preventing you from getting the care you need at home, is a real obstacle. It's a real hindrance for many consumers. Short-term care insurance overcomes that, and a lot of people would never meet those hurdles. Health. I talked about the fact that health is an issue. A significant percentage of individuals who want to apply, finally get to the reality of, yes, I'm going to apply for long-term care insurance, cannot health qualify, and you know that. Short-term care insurance, while there's a spread from one company to the next, it is far easier in general to health qualify. I pulled up one application. You can pause the video and kind of read it, or you can ultimately, talk to us, get appointed. We'll get you applications. Some of them ask just a few yes-no questions, and basically you answer correctly. 98% of those people are approved. It is far easier to health qualify for that. And when still, if you have that hesitance, well, but it doesn't provide a heck of a lot of coverage, I want to go back to saying, remember that with some of these companies, you can buy 2 policies, so you can double them up. So while you look and you say, well, I might not have a very rich period of coverage, or I might need coverage that's going to last longer for a year. Well, if you bought 2 policies and it paid enough to cover the one, and then you save the benefits from the second one all within your first year, it's basically the same as having a 2-year plan. So, and these are affordable. they are surprisingly affordable, even when you have health issues. So as I said, I call some of these products LTC or long-term care light because indeed that's sort of the way I view it. So they generally will have 4 to 12 yes, no underwriting questions. Some do not have cognitive interviews. Some do not require medical or RX records. Some will even accept applicants who have been declined for traditional long-term care insurance. So if you've reached this point and you're still not convinced to be selling short-term care insurance, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to sway you, but I've got to tell you that once agents get it, they get it. Cost. I said at the beginning, cost was the number one issue. So I'm going to bring that in after I talked about some of the others. Let's just look. People want to get home health care. Now, as I said, they may have a health issue, they may not be able to qualify, but let's look at one of these policies that's a 26-week home care benefit period with a 0-day elimination period. And these are general numbers, specifically taken off a particular illustration. But someone who's age 75, who wants a $750 a week benefit for home health care, it's going to cost them $1,000 a year. There's about $100 a month, which would be $1,200 a year, is a magic number for what many consumers say they won't pay more than that to have some long-term care insurance protection. And especially, I know I'm harping on women on their own because, as the slide says, you can't sell something when people can't afford it. So short-term care insurance is especially affordable for women on their own. I think at this point, all the companies that are offering these products are still using unisex pricing, which, if you're watching this and you're not familiar with what exactly that means women pay the same as men. That is not true for traditional long-term care insurance. I'm going to give you a quick example. This is an age 65-year-old single woman who is looking at a 3-year long-term care benefit. That's traditionally what agents kind of go in and present, $150 facility daily benefit and 3% compound growth. So these are 3 companies. This is what they're costing today, anywhere from $3,300 a year to $4,300 a year. How many single women age 65 can afford $350 to $400 a month for an optional product like long-term care insurance? But let's look at the option for short-term care. Look at policy A, short-term care policy A, same benefit, $150 a day, benefit period 360 days, so just under a year. The home care benefit in this particular one is not full, not 100%, it's 75%. We've picked an elimination period of 20 days. Let's just assume that the worst case scenario, we want to control a little bit of cost, and they're going to be checked into the hospital after that, fall and broken hip, and they're going to be inpatient. So Medicare is going to pay for the 20 days. We're going to add 5% simple compound. I'm going to show you 5% compound in a second. Magic number, $1,273 a year for this amount of coverage. Basically, $108,000 of maximum benefit, okay? $225 a day for a home care benefit for $100 a month. This is why, and this benefit grows because it's 5% simple. If you're watching this in 2017 or later, you remember those good old days of 5% compound inflation growth option. Boy, those were heady days. You can't touch a traditional long-term care insurance policy with 5% compound. Just look at the illustration here. This is for a 1-year long-term care benefit policy. With 5% compound, that 65-year-old woman's paying $5,000 a year. A short-term care policy, pay same 1 year, 360 days, 5% compound, so that her value is going to grow from age 65 at 5%, $1,669 a year. That's the beauty of short-term care insurance today. And I can't tell you how many agents are overlooking it? And the opportunity to do this for women on their own. And lastly, when age is an issue. Age is always going to be an issue. People, I know we all say, oh, we're going to teach them to plan right. We're going to get those baby boomers. And I look and say, yeah, good luck. It just doesn't work that way. You get some, but you're never going to get all. Age is always an issue. Look at the ages that some of the short-term care insurance companies will accept applicants, up to age 89 in one particular situation, a major national company. Medical records? So a recap. Why short-term care insurance? It's affordable. It's easier to health qualify for. Unisex rates if you're dealing with single women or women on their own. Older ages accepted. Fast decisions. That's nice for you. And lastly, 360 days. I wrote down can be better than just good. I'm sorry. It's always going to be better than having nothing, and it's always going to be better than just adequate care or adequate coverage. And those two significant reasons that not most, 41% of claims are 1 year or less. And taking away that need to meet the 90-day certification, I cannot tell you how important that is going to be to your clients come claim time. Oh, a couple of extra perks. Some companies will have their staff make the sale for you. Now, you're probably rolling or raising your eyebrows and saying, who wants that? Hold on. You're selling to a customer. Often, it's a customer who doesn't know you. And you're an insurance agent or broker. And pardon my French, but do I really trust you? Do you really have my best interest at heart? I want to talk to an insurance company person. Some insurance companies will allow you to connect them, your client, your prospect, with them. They will take all the application, everything over the phone. You can stay on the call, or you can just say, you know, Mary, I'm going to connect you with right now with XYZ Insurance Company. This is a company employee. They are salaried. They're going to explain everything. They're going to answer your questions. They're going to take your application, talk to them. You know, they don't work on commission or anything. They're a company employee. They're going to tell you everything you want to know, and they will. And this one particular company that does this, if you think it doesn't work, half of their final expense sales are made this way. Because I first raised my eyebrow and said, well, does this really work? And they go, oh yeah, half of our final expense sales are made exactly like that. Agent starts the conversation, hooks the two parties up, and then the rest becomes history. And some companies will even accept credit card payments for their short-term care insurance, which I think is great because I love points and travel bonuses and all of that stuff. And if I'm going to spend $100 a month, well, at least I get 100 points, which at the end of the year, a month, adds up to something. So I'm going to look at you if you're watching this and say, remind me why you're not selling short-term care insurance? Let me make it simple for you. Let the National Advisory Center make you a short-term care insurance sales hero. You'll be a hero to your clients, those who ever need care. I can tell you that if you educate them to the gaps that they face and the solutions that you're offering, and they get it, and they need the care that's covered by their policies, you will be a superhero. You certainly can be a sales hero. These policies dovetail really well with Medicare supplement, Medicare products, and or long-term care insurance. And we're happy to help you get trained, help you get appointed, and help you be successful. The way to do that is really simple. You can call us, you can email me, you can just call the advisory center, visit the organization's website, learn more. But at the end of the day, seek our participation with you, seek out our help. There's never going to be any pressure. I look at every agent. I've been doing this business a long time. I took this on because I made a commitment to the short-term care insurance industry to help put this product on the map. But what I said at the same time is we're going to work directly with agents to help them be successful. If you're already appointed with a company, go forth and sell, because that's good for the industry. As sales grow, as more people become familiar with this product, the whole industry will grow. If you're not, or if you're not happy working with the people that you're working with, give us a shot. We won't hold you when you don't want to be held, but we'll certainly help you when you want to be helped. My name is Jesse Sloan. I created the National Advisory Center for Short-Term Care Information because I care about success. I care about success for an industry. I care about success for you, the producer. I thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. I'd love to answer any questions. I'd love to hear from you. More importantly, we'd love to be working with you. Thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it. Good selling.